Arcadian Vanguard presents The Wrestling News in your daily wrestling newscast for Thursday, March 13th, 2025. Good morning, I'm Mike Sempervive. We begin today with AEW Dynamite broadcast live last night on TBS and Max from the Save Mart Center in Fresno, California. AEW kicked off their 8-man international title eliminator tournament with two first-round matchups. In the first, Speedball Mike Bailey made his debut as a full-time competitor, turning back the Beast Mortos. In the other, Orange Cassidy knocked off Hechicero. The tournament continues on Saturday's Collision with Katsuyori Shibata facing Ricochet and Mark Davis taking on Mark Briscoe. The winner of the tournament will face Kenny Omega for the international title at the Dynasty pay-per-view on April 6. MVP interrupted an in-ring MJF promo offering him his business card, which MJF initially declined before MVP placed it in his hand.
I'm not the same bright-eyed, bushy-tailed kid I was all those years ago. With all due respect, I don't need your help and I damn sure don't need your advice. I'm MJF, and whether these morons want to hear it or not, I was the world champion for 406 consecutive days. Focus on the word was.
Later, MJF would run into Hangman Page backstage where the two had a tense back and forth indicating that issues between them have not yet been settled. During the show, it was also announced that on next week's Dynamite, Jon Moxley and Adam Copeland will face off in a rematch for Moxley's AEW World title, with the winner moving on to face Swerve Strickland at Dynasty. In separate promos, both Jay White and Will Ospreay announced their intentions to go after the AEW World title.
A warning in advance, an assassin is coming for the throne. I want to be the world champion because they trust me with AEW. I want to be the guy because I know I can do it. I want to be the world champion because my name is Will Ospreay, and I am on another level.
AEW World Women's Champion Toni Storm cut a promo on the entranceway, which ended with her being laid out by Megan Bayne. After Willow Nightingale defeated Penelope Ford, Bayne made her second appearance of the night by helping Ford lay out both Nightingale and Chris Statlander. In other results, Hologram and Powerhouse Hobbs teamed up to defeat Brian Cage and Dralistico. Konosuke Takeshita squashed Max Caster, and the Ops unit of Hook, Katsuyori Shibata, and Samoa Joe defeated Eli Theseus, Gabriel Eros, and Vinny Pacifico. Taking a look at ratings, Tuesday night's NXT show drew 732,000 viewers to the CW network, according to WrestleNomics. That's up from last week's audience of 698,000. The rating in the 18 to 49-year-old demographic was a .15, which is even with last week. In legal news, independent wrestler Charles Hutton, who wrestles under the name Charlie Tiger, was arrested on Tuesday for allegedly stripping naked and threatening people with a machete at a store in Lower Allen Township, Pennsylvania, according to a report from Slam Wrestling. He's been charged with assault, disorderly conduct, harassment, and criminal mischief. Police found Hutton after responding to calls pertaining to the disturbance. The police report stated, quote, multiple witnesses reported that the male was yelling while holding the knife, stabbing the ground with the knife, and taking off his clothes. During the incident, the suspect charged at bystanders in a threatening way with the knife. Additionally, the suspect stabbed a work van, causing over $2,000 worth of damage, end quote. Hutton was reported to have fled the scene after being disarmed by a bystander, but was tracked down by police using witness descriptions, store surveillance videos, and Hutton's driver's license. A preliminary hearing is scheduled for April 10th. Hutton had been arrested a month earlier after repeated incidents in which he was alleged to have made terroristic threats at an IRS office. As Charlie Tiger, Hutton has worked for such independent promotions as CZW and Game Changer Wrestling, and last appeared at the People vs. GCW last January as part of a battle royal. And finally, turning to Japan, New Japan Pro Wrestling presented Night 4 of the New Japan Cup yesterday at the Uwajima City General Gymnasium. The event featured second-round matches in the New Japan Cup tournament, in which Shota Umino beat Great-O-Khan and Taichi beat Gabe Kidd via countout. And before we leave you today, we'd like to remind you that however you consume your content, you can find the wrestling news 24 hours a day and 7 days a week across social media. On Twitter, follow us at Wrestling News AV. Our Facebook page is also Wrestling News AV. The wrestling news can also be found on the Arcadian Vanguard YouTube page. And for those who utilize Amazon Echo devices, just tell Alexa to play the Wrestling News Podcast. And remember to make sure you add podcast at the end. Once again, for daily updates, breaking news, and more, follow the wrestling news across social media. And that's the news for today. If anything happens, we will be here to tell you about it. No clickbait, no paywall, just the wrestling news. The Wrestling News is a division of Arcadian Vanguard, and the Wrestling Newscast is a production of the Arcadian Vanguard Podcast Network.